Hi guys, this is going to be kind of a discussion kind of video. I made a few ones previously, and what triggered me was not in a bad way. I saw someone posting a deck recently in a Facebook group, and it's a black and white deck, and they added color to the deck, and it sparked a conversation. Most of the people were very, positively surprised by the results and expressed their own desire to do the same. And then someone posted something along the lines that for them it felt disrespectful towards the artist that you want to modify a deck like that. And I was thinking about why I modify my deck, how far I would want to go or could go with modifying a deck. Because to be honest, when I saw that modified deck, and it doesn't really matter which deck it is, it could be any black and white deck, I felt the same I felt exactly the same reaction like other did. I was like, wow, I wanna do that once I got the deck, because it adds, in my opinion, and and I guess the original poster's opinion, it adds to the deck. But I completely understand the other side as well, that when you buy something, you buy it how it looks. Some people buy it for why the artist intended it, and it could be anything the way it is. But for me, so why do I modify my decks? The number one reason, sometimes the number one reason is practicality, because sometimes the decks are just too big. For example, the Druidcraft tarot, it is a big one, and I modified it for mainly accident. I didn't meant to remove the titles, but I kind of meant to. So I had a whole discussion about it in a live recently with Gerald Tarot Stash. So if you want to, if you're curious about that, you can check that. But as you can see, now it fits in my hand, and this, I can actually hold it because I overhand shuffle most of the time. That's how I shuffle. I'm not a refill shuffler because I can't. I have weak and small hands. So for me, this was partially practical, because it was too big, and I wanted to have it in a size that I can work with it. Other thing is, for example, my Majestic Earth. Oh, with that transformation, I couldn't, change the size, and this is a huge deck. I have a hard time holding it. I wish there would be a smaller size version, but I'm just very glad that I have, any version of it, because it's out of print. It had a gold gilding, and it was a beautiful gilding. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it always cuts into my hand, and I just don't like it. So I removed it. I edged it. Now it has a sage green edging, which matches the back, and for me it makes the deck more complete for me, and I look at decks as a tool, and I would have a problem with modifying decks if that would mean you're modifying something along the lines of the original artwork, but you're buying a copy of the original artwork. And you can buy a poster of the Mona Lisa and put it up somewhere, and if you want to draw on it, because that's your copy and it's not the original, and no one would believe that you did that. So if anyone who modifies a deck would try to pass it on as their own, I would have a huge problem with it. But because this is a copy and this is a tool, I don't look at tarot decks just as artwork, even though it is artwork. But I buy them to work with them. I buy them to use them. And when I first saw people trimming decks, I was like, "What are you doing?" I was the same. I'm not saying that person who posted their opinion is the same, I just want to say that I came from that side, because it didn't make sense to me at first when I saw it, and then I heard people explaining why they did it, because the artwork looks better without those borders, or like, you know, they were like me with small hands and they needed that extra size width removed. And then I kind of understood, and then I trimmed my shadowscapes, and the reason for that, and I edged it into this beautiful lilac, which matches everything perfectly, and I love how it looks. It doesn't have titles because I bought mine. I bought the Hungarian version, which has a bigger artwork. You know, the English is shrink down even more. So in the Hungarian one, which is out of print currently, unfortunately, I asked the publisher, because I was, you know, hoping to help other people to buy the Hungarian one, but they said they only have one copy in hopes for future reprints. But I think there's the Czech version. The Czech version is still available, but I removed it because I primarily read in English, and having Hungarian titles on the cards were actually distracting, because I had to, you know, completely all the time switch back and forth of the names, and it was just, you know, I was just bothered by it. So that was mainly the reason why I removed that. But it opens up the artwork. Why am I not finding my way? Without borders, without the titles and everything, it made it more of my deck. And I think most of the time when I modify a deck, I trim them, I edge them. I think I edged pretty much all of my decks except for decks like the Oak, Ash and Thorn, because it's white. I don't mind these borders, by the way, because it looks like tiny pieces of paintings on the card. So I'm not modifying this one. I don't have to modify it. You know, there's white, the borders are white. It's just, it doesn't need modifying. So it's not like I'm a trimmer happy and I just remove all the borders in all the time. But sometimes, for example, I just finished edging the Raven's Prophecy. I fully intended to keep this deck with the orange borders, because there is an orange card in the story, and it kind of reminded me the color of that card, and I absolutely hate the way the back looks now. But I don't care about it as much as I thought that I would. But as soon as I removed, and I started edging it orange with the borders at first, but when I laid out the cards on the table, the orange border was just so distracting that I couldn't focus on the cards that were in front of me. But now, if I pull 3 cards, my usual spread, I will see clearly what's in front of me. You know, there's the Ace of Wands, there's the 4 of Pentacles, I think. 4 of Pentacles, coins in this deck, and the 3 of Cups. And, you know, this is a dark deck. I mean, most of the backgrounds are black. The back is black with orange, so it kind of doesn't make sense to put that huge ass orange border all around it. So now I feel more connected to the deck, and I know that I will be able to use it more, because I will be drawn to using it. And circling back to that black and white, I think I will do that too, because for me, that will add to the deck. And I think most of us who do this, you know, I don't think any of us would trim or modify a deck out of disrespect. We all appreciate these decks, but these are not our creations. And when you use something, you try to bend it in a way to your will, you know, to the way you read, to the way you look at things, to the way you appreciate what you have. And I kind of feel like it's similar with piece of clothing that you buy, if you, you know, start playing with it and you modify it, you still know that it's not your original creation. I mean, the original thing is not yours, but what you create with it, how you bond with it, how you change it into a way that fits your personality will make it yours. I mean, I did that when I was a teenager. I did that. I colored and staged on my jeans, and I just like them better because of that, the modifications I did. So even though I understand that for someone it might seem that this is, you know, disrespecting the original wishes of the artist because they wanted it as a black and white deck, but in a way I understand that my side as well, that I know that I'm not doing it, you know, to hurt anyone. I'm doing it so it will mean, the deck would mean more to me, if that makes sense. And this might not make sense, but I'm quite curious because unfortunately, as usual, comments turned into a bit of a negative place, because, you know, when there's an opposing opinion, usually people get very defensive. So I unfollowed that topic, so I don't know how it ended. But I'm kind of curious, how do you see modified decks? Do you want to modify your decks, or do you only do it as I did with the Druidcraft, you know, because of the size, so you have to do it for practical reasons, or do you do it because you want to make them more of your own? I'm just quite curious why people modify, but this was my reason why I modify my decks. And yeah, I hope to hear you, you know, in the comments, and like, subscribe, hit that bell, do all those, you know, YouTube things, because that helps my channel. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.